3, 2, 1. Welcome back to episode, I can't believe it, Josh, episode 65.
65
of the Have We Made It Yet podcast. You know, like back when we first started this podcast out, I've been like, maximum maybe like 6 months. And then 6 months later, then we'd make it big. But apparently we haven't. So that's why we keep on making these episodes going on. So we're at episode 65. If this is your first time listening, this is the show where two creatives, and I'm so excited for today, two creatives and their guest talk about the process of making it. As always, my name is Lucas Ng, the actor portion of this podcast, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Josh Yang. I'm the amateur comedian portion of this podcast.
Yes, he is. And I do have to continually ask this, even though this is the 65th time. Actually, no, we had a bonus episode. So this is technically episode 66 almost.
Ooh, 66. It's just around Halloween. Oh, this could be like, this is a sneaky devil episode.
I like it.
The satanic, I don't know what that was, but wait, what? Just
well,
whatever.
Apparently, like a lot of conservative Christians. Yeah, the 6 and then the all-seeing eye. They're like, it's pagan.
I mean that now it's like symbology is all over the place, and it's like nothing means anything, everything means something. Anyways, we're getting off track. Either way, 65 plus one bonus episode.
Exactly.
And it's been quite a ride, but I feel like we're getting closer, if not getting further away from.
So yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna throw the question out to you because I haven't even asked you it.
Yeah.
Mr. Josh Young. Did I say your last name right?
Whoa. I mean, yes. I at this point nobody really cares.
I care.
And I appreciate you for caring.
You're my brother, of course. Mr. Josh Young. Have you made it yet?
I have not made it yet. And it's been a year and 6-7 months. And I would say there were ups and downs. And right now is a bit of a lull. But I'm enjoying the lull a bit, kind of reorganizing, chilling out for the next little bit, maybe try to get some more reading and writing and other kind of areas of my brain out. So we're chugging along. We'll see what happens, but I am excited, with COVID starting to loosen up a bit, more restrictions are getting lifted next spring. They announced in Ontario as well that they're probably going to try and lift all restrictions. So here's hoping that we'll have a full and vibrant, indoor outdoor comedy scene in Toronto in the spring. So 2022, baby. 2022.
22, baby. Love it. Yeah, capacity limits are slowly being lifted out right now.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? That just helps in making it for me. But hey, Lucas, I have to ask you. Number episode 65 plus 1. Have you made it yet?
Not yet. But, right now I am, they always say, like, if you ever want to perfect your craft, do at least one thing a day that will help you get closer there. So, of course, acting is my North Star. That's what I'm striving towards and everything like that. But in going towards that North Star and eventually hoping to find baby Jesus in a manger, you got to make sure that you have a clear runway. And that at times means a financial runway to fund that goal. So right now I am working a classic 9-to-5 job right now. Well, it's actually more closer to like 9:30 to 7 job right now, but it is within the same industry. And I'm calculating money and everything like that. And it does feel good to not have to stress out so much about money. Mm-hmm. So that's another like reliever that I have on me right now. And in addition to that, I'm also doing auditions with self-tape. So things are slowly getting busier. And actually after this, I have to do a voiceover audition. So
nice.
I have to just use the same setup. But it's just, making sure, at least for myself, that I at least have that financial runway to still pursue my goals. Because that North Star, it's still really damn far away. But at the same time, it's like I'm doing everything in my power to make sure I can still ride that camelback and find my baby Jesus.
And along the way, you need some wise men with you. So I'm happy to be here on this journey with you as one of your wise men. And then I don't know, we'll find somebody else. Maybe Jeff, the podfather of this podcast.
Podfather, I need the sage.
Yeah, it's the three. We're the three wise creatives. I don't know.
Okay, Josh. We do have a third panel today.
That's yes. We do. Third wise guest.
I know I always ask you this, but are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So for the introduction here, I was first introduced to our next guest as I had auditioned for her to be in her as of yet released short film. She answered my many questions about the tone and the motivations of the character. And from there, I knew I was chatting with someone who was and still is a true creative. She guided me through the process, and from there, I really understood what moved her to write the story and how much it does mean to her. Our next guest has been featured on the National Screen Institute, and her shorts are on the Bureau of Creative Works, which is a library of films from award-winning filmmakers all over the world. Just last year, our guest had her film Margo selected as part of 2020's Toronto Real Asian Film Festival. A great festival in all of Toronto, if everyone's ever interested in going. Her writing and directing work focuses on giving women a voice as the characters in her shorts navigate through everyday daily life, such as finding a party and getting lost in the process in her short film, Two Ladies, navigating through new work environments and finding the ambiguity that comes with sexual harassment in Margo, and protecting one's tip money as a waitress feels unsafe in the big city in Yellow Envelopes. These slice of life stories speak to the authentic experiences of a lived life in all its quirks, all while giving life to the moments that make us all feel human. Now, back to the audition. I eventually booked the part and got to work and collaborate with this amazing filmmaker. It's my honor to introduce the director and writer, Steffi Tupe.
I can come on now, right?
Yeah,
yeah, I'm on. I almost want to cry. That was very well written. Thank you for writing that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming on, though. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Awesome. And as we had rehearsed when you initially signed on, Steffi, have you made it yet?
I'm going to make it complicated. I'm going to say yes and no.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yes first, because I don't know, like a couple of years ago, I was working at a restaurant and I was working part-time, and it was just tough. Like when you're finishing a shift at like 11 o'clock at night and you don't want to do that anymore. And also just like figuring out how to make movies at the same time. So compared to that point, yeah, I think so. I like my apartment right now. I have a wonderful partner and a job. So, and I made Margo and got film Yellow Envelopes that's yet to be released. So I feel pretty good, but also, there are those times where you don't feel like you make it, and yeah.
Oh, but if we can just reflect a little bit on that part that might be missing in the making it, though. Yeah, if you could.
I think it's very simple. It's just external validation, basically, right? External validation and different contexts. Like, it would be great if I didn't have to work a day job, and I could just be writing and making movies all the time. That's basically it.
That's the dream, literally, Josh, though. Like, we all feel that the day that we don't have to work our day jobs that take us away from our creative passions. Like, that's what we're all striving towards one day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine like Margo was a big moment for you as well, to get a little bit of that recognition, and it starts the journey towards like feeling like, I got some momentum. This seems more real now. I'm in this festival within Toronto. How was that experience in motivating you to like really continue pushing towards your craft?
It made me feel like, okay, you are, I don't, this is going to sound funny, but you are allowed to keep going. It's not just you who thinks you have something going on. It's some other people. And especially since it's film, like it's, there's movie theaters. It's meant for people to see, like just having the film in that festival meant a lot in terms of like, yeah, I could keep making movies because people are going to watch them. People like them. People think there's something to get from them.
Awesome. I did want to ask from the origin story of Steffi over here. So I did notice that, of course, you went to York and did the film studies program there and everything like that.
Yeah.
How did you feel like York had really inspired you to keep on going? Because I do know a few people who, of course, do that 4-year program, but eventually just kind of flame out because they don't really find the instilled passion in it. But how did York prepare you for what you're creating right now?
I think York was mainly, it just exposed me to just culture and art. Like I grew up in Mississauga in a very suburban area where people didn't think about paintings and theater, and that's what York was for me. It was like a gateway. York has a really great library for movies, books, photography. I still that's what I did when I had spare time on campus, was I would just go to the movie library because they have everything. They have like the largest movie library in Canada, I think.
Wow.
So I would watch like really old stuff. And that just inspired me a lot. And even like my other interests like photography or just like walking through the aisles, they have books on everything. So York just exposed me to like basically art and knowledge. And then there were my profs who just like, they took it seriously. Like, I know it seems really simple and baseline, but you know, when you're in Mississauga and like everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna focus on like, well, not just Mississauga, everywhere, every other suburb, and they're just focusing on like practical careers, but then going to just a space, a place where everyone, their North Star is kind of the same thing. That was enough inspiration for me.
Nice. Honestly, though, like there's something to be said about like just film school, because it's something that you literally cannot do by yourself. And yeah, like I'm sure you met some amazing collaborators that you still work with today still.
Yeah, well, my two producers, Spencer Hahn and Steve Ragel, that's where I met. They were like 2 years younger than me. Or no, just a year below. But we still like, I went out on quite a couple of sets. Like every weekend when you're in film school, someone is shooting their thesis project. So it's like, it's not just your year, it's the 4th years, the 3rd years, the 2nd years. And if you're in the beginning years, you're like really hungry and you want to go out on every set. But I guess that was definitely inspirational too. It's just seeing people work very hard. You're like, oh, this is going on. Oh, okay. I've been slacking. But also like the vision, like you see what people do and you're like, that's cool. I didn't know that you could do that. And especially you see the process too. So yeah. John, the DP, John Palenka, I met him there. But I think every DP I've worked with in the last couple of shorts all came from York. So York has been it's been very important for me. It was very important for me in meeting people who I would consider lifelong friends and collaborators.
Yeah, and I would imagine that's definitely a very impressionable time. Everybody's really like just into the moment, into the craft, and kind of gung-ho about it. Like a lot of the people you meet there are people who you will just eventually see again throughout your careers. Was there like, you know, an experience during those going on those sets, student-led sets, that like kind of broke some previous expectations or preconceptions of like filmmaking that like you going into the program you had, or like, you know, just changed your perspective there?
That broke my, well, I don't, it was the first time I made films.
Mhm.
So being on other people's film sets, I learned that it's very methodical, but it was just very exhausting. Like the hours are so long, and
Right.
I worked in the camera electric lighting department, so I was like carrying C stands, and I was like, oh, this is so much work. So that was kind of a surprise. It's just all the physical strength and stamina needed to work on set. And then there was like just working or just directing my first film with like a crew. That was like a shock to the nervous system, a shock to my, I don't know, it's just a shock everywhere. I remember coming in after my first short film, which was shot on Super 16, by the way, so not digital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And my teacher was like, so how was it? And I was speechless. It wasn't like a fake speechless. It was just like, I don't know. Yeah.
But honestly, that you do kind of speak to it, because at times it's that overwhelming feeling that there's a whole cast and crew that is like just looking up to you to answer every question, to dictate every taste of every scene, and it's overwhelming to the point where you just can't respond anymore. And I did want to ask you, in some ways, such as your film Two Ladies there.
Yeah.
First of all, you shot during winter. Like that's already a hardship in itself. I mean, of course, there are scenes like at a subway station and scenes that are outside too. You casted two incredible leads that I thought were like really added that kind of authentic touch to your story, which is like a reversal take on the James Joyce story of Two Gallants there. What was it about those two leads that you casted that made you feel that they had that authentic push to create the story that you wanted to tell?
I just felt like, oh yeah, I know those two girls. I guess it was just like environment, the way people talk. Rebecca grew up in Vaughan, and I think Aisha grew up in North York. I don't know, but she grew up in Toronto or some GTA, and I grew up in Mississauga. So the way they spoke, just like the slang or the way, the way people talk, like you can tell a lot from where they are. So
yeah,
that I connected to that. It wasn't too formal. It wasn't too alien to me. So there was that. And also, like, I think an aspect of themselves were just simply these characters. So that's why I casted them.
Amazing.
Did you have a lot of like improv on set during shooting as well, especially since you can get that sense of, just them being naturally who they are coming across on screen?
Actually, that wasn't quite improvised. Everything was very written out, but there were rehearsals. I've always had rehearsals. This is something I'm realizing. I've always thought they were very important. But so we did rehearsals and we would scratch lines out, maybe change the sentences a bit. Okay. But yeah, surprisingly, everything they had to memorize the lines, and maybe but the thing is, I'm not very like, oh, this is the line and you must say it this way, as long as they get the gist of it and they're not turning it into like a different genre or affecting the tone.
Right.
I would imagine then, I guess, like, on a short film budget, like time is of the essence. So you might not want to, have too many takes, but I guess if you were like saying time wasn't necessarily, or budget constraints weren't an issue, like in your ideal directing style, would you be like, let's do a couple on the script and then see what happens? Or like, do you feel like I have a very clear vision? I feel like once we got it, we got it.
I think at this point now, I think it would actually range from project to project. I think for even like for Yellow Envelopes, like we had rehearsals, but for that film, I would have loved to done so many takes. I would have loved to done 20 takes. I was talking to a director friend and he's like, yeah, I did 20 takes, but I wanted more, Steffi. So that's that. But in terms of improv, maybe it depends on the project, but I could also see in the future, just still memorizing the lines, but just doing it over and over again from many different angles.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, like in Two Ladies, it is still a story, although there is a lot of different characters. Like you had that whole
I
house
know.
party scene, but it is still condensed down to like two ladies eventually navigating through that kind of like awkward situation, everything. But in Margo, it's even more singular, which focuses literally on the character of Margo and her whole work environment, which is also a pretty big cast in itself.
I know.
Too, right?
I always do that. I shouldn't do that as a beginner filmmaker, but I can't help it.
No, and I just want to talk about the ambitiousness of it all, because it's a lot of moving parts in that one, on top of also tackling a theme, which is, from how I viewed it, was almost the ambiguity of sexual harassment in that. Within working in the film industry, but also making a film about the film industry there, was that more of your narrative take on the industry and the ambiguity of it all when creating Margo?
The way I approached it was just like from what I heard from my friends and personal. I'm too, as nice as it would be to be speaking for everyone, I never want to do that. It's just, I don't like approaching writing that way. Like that's my personal experience. But it's what, there's a couple of ways how I go about in deciding and like choosing a story and then actually trying to make it. And one is like, okay, I'm thinking about it, and when I write the story, there's a beginning, middle, and end, like right off the top. Like the nuances and the nitty-gritty aren't there, but like it there's a whole. And then the second thing is if I start talking to people and then they have a similar experience. So as soon as you talk to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people and you're like, oh, this is something, then that's when I decide like, okay, I want to write this story because this is our story. So it's gonna happen. Yeah.
And sorry, Josh, were you able to say something?
Oh, well, I mean, during that process of like research and like coming up with the dialogue and just making sure it sounded authentic, like how was towing that line? Especially it's like a very sensitive topic and like you don't want dialogue to sound odd or it doesn't sound realistic, like how was measuring that line when it came to writing?
Again, I had rehearsals, but I did write the lines. I write the lines initially and then I have rehearsals and then I see how that goes. And then I rewrite them. Sometimes I see it and like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. What the heck? Or the actor's like, this doesn't make sense. I'm like, yes, this is correct. I like it to be collaborative. I don't want it to be, well, sometimes I'm like, no, like Lucas, no. Sometimes I'm like, no, it has to be like this. But there are times where it changes. But also just in terms of like how the lines actually come across, I'd like to take, I think that's because of the casting, to be honest. I think I give a lot of credit to the actors. It's something I like consciously like really want to work on, is like being able to, I don't work with casting directors or have a direct, I've seen the position on set where there's like assistant to the cast or something like that, but then that or like acting coach. I've seen acting coach in credits, and I'm always like, that's really weird. But yeah, bottom line, I think the natural way, or at least I think it's mostly natural, that's my intention, comes from choosing the cast.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was watching an interview with you. It was when you were also promoting Margo at the Toronto Real Asian Film Fest. And you had a great line which talked about, you were referencing the cat lady.
Oh, cat person.
Cat person. This article from the New Yorker, which you said was at times like banal, but it went viral just because like a story like that was never told. And as a result, you had a great takeaway from that, was just because just women don't actually really get to tell their own stories too often. Is that kind of through line, that kind of mantra, what really inspires you to create more stories that are more focused from the feminine perspective. Is that your through line there?
Yeah, I think that is a through line, and in the future, I would like to write male protagonists. I would love to write from my point of view of what I think, or what women see, and how a man navigates through this world. And yeah, so, but that is definitely a through line, is just like, I think the woman, like, there's a lot of like poetry and novels and music, but I don't think there's a lot in film. So that's definitely a motivating factor.
Has there been a portrayal like recently in the last few years that really caught your eye, that this was like, you know, this feminine character is like really good, pops off screen?
I love Andrea Arnold. She did The Short Wasp, she did Fish Tank, she did American Honey, Wuthering Heights. You should search up her shorts, but it's very like, it's like a documentary, but it's of course written. Her characters really pop off the screen because they're like imperfect, and it's just it's really not that how do I say this, surprising what she's doing with the characters. It's just the main characters are usually always men. So that's why her characters pop off screen, and she's like very talented. Who else did a bunch of, I think men can of course men can write women characters too. This is just off the top of my head, but in White Lotus, like, I thought that Mike White, like, he was still able to write women well. It was an ensemble cast, and like there was a nice mixture of women in there. Who else? I don't know. But yeah, definitely Andrea Arnold.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I definitely have to look her up. And yeah, now that you mentioned White Lotus, it was a great ensemble cast. I feel like as long as you have your characters especially in a story like that, as long as they have the variety of perspectives and personalities, it's just, you know, they come off more as individuals, and like you can connect with them on all levels. Even if maybe you don't identify with the exact character, you can still understand where they're coming from, and it's all very familiar.
Yeah,
no doubt. I did want to also go into your as of yet released short film that was recently shot. Was it summer, or no, it was like going into fall?
Oh, Yellow Envelopes.
Yeah.
That was just last month.
Yeah. That was last month.
It's okay, time does not exist.
Tell me about it. I know. Oh my god. Amazing time on set. I know I was only there for one day, but just everything was, everyone is trying their best in this whole industry, but there are some people who do it better than others. And your set there, incredibly organized. Everyone was so welcoming and friendly. Everyone was so down to work. And again, for everyone, it was an overnight shoot. So, I mean, we were shooting from like midnight till about 10 or 9 a.m. or something like that.
It was, never again.
Yeah. But just overall, the morale was still there. And that's something that is like just, it is the intangibles, and it always stems from the top. So you as a director, you really bring that morale up and everything like that. I did want to ask about your directing style though. Have you figured out one of your mantras or something that you are consistently bringing to every set, or is that still something that's forming?
Well, I'm definitely growing. Like, it changes each time. Just to like rewind a bit, but Josh, what you were asking before about, would you have done it like 20 different times for two ladies? I wouldn't have known what to do with those 20 takes. I was clueless. But the thing is, just like everything, the more you do it, the more you realize you don't know. So in terms of directing style, I think I've just learned to be more open and being okay if things don't go exactly the way that I want. I think for me, it's just to like over prepare. Like, I do like my own script analysis for the actors. I make a shot list, but it doesn't have to be exact. I just do what I think that needs to be done, and then just let it all go, and then arrive on set and try to be as present as possible and try to be as relaxed as possible. Just try to be my best self. I don't, yeah, like,
yeah,
like not overthink, just be a friend to myself on set more. Before, like, on set, that feeling when you're in it and you're like, is that the right answer? Is that the right way to do it? Before I go in and be like, oh, I don't know. Oh, I'm stupid. Oh, what is it? And it's definitely one thing. But now it's like, it could be that thing. It could be the other. But there's no definite way of getting to that point. So let's just try a couple of things. Definitely get a couple of takes. Have rehearsals. Have a lot of conversations with everyone who you're working with. Yeah. I'd like to think that I'm just doing the very like simple conversations that you're supposed to have with everyone, but through my this is gonna sound funny, but my podiatrist, my foot doctor, was moving, and I was really sad, and she said, "Don't worry, I know who to get for you because she's good with sensitive people and is very attentive." And I was like, what? That's me? She's just taking care of my foot. We never say more than 10 words to each other. So I was like, okay, I guess that's me. So, I mean, I'm just telling you, like, I feel like I'm just, how I make my films is pretty basic, but there's probably like people who say like, she likes to talk a lot. She likes to have like 20 conversations. So.
No, definitely. There is that kind of like emotional investment that you do have in addition to the physical and mental investment. So like, I would say like you are putting in so much of yourself into that craft that as a result, you prepare so much, but at the same time, it's like, you're just bracing and trying to be at the same time the nicest version to yourself, just because you're incredibly vulnerable. Everyone's asking you so many things at the same time. It's so mentally taxing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes, it is.
Would that be like a quality you would recommend for like aspiring directors, newer directors who haven't been on set yet? It's kind of like, being nimble and being adaptive to your situation and having that expectation, as opposed to like, I want things this way. If it's not this way, I'm going to crumble,
Yeah. So definitely be nimble, be flexible. Things, you can't predict the future. There are so many like seconds in between getting to where you're going to make decisions, where you didn't know you had to make decisions, like which way should the hand be held, like that's not even the actor intention, that's just a visual cue, and then how does it feel right for the actor, right? And then for people who really want something very specific, this is my advice to myself if I were to do that in the future, is like, you have to plan a lot. You should storyboard. You should have like 10 camera tests. You should, if there's a movie that I'm just like a grown-up nerd. Basically, I think that's my approach, is just do your research and diligence before arriving on set. But yeah, like you could do anything infinitely. But if you want something exactly, you better be prepared, or else like that's stupid.
There are some directors I've heard where they're like, they don't do storyboarding, and then just on the day they're like, okay, let's figure out on the day, let's collaborate, it's movie making, let's get to it, or something like that. And it's like, is there a director, like a working director, professional, historical, that inspire you in their style of directing at all?
I haven't listened to enough directors talk about their craft, and I probably should. But from like, I know Kubrick, like that's very, very film 101, but he like planned everything very meticulously. And then there's people, is it Wong Kar-wai, who stole everyone's passports and didn't have a script for on set?
That's yes, because lot of his in the oh shoot, I'm butchering.
In the Mood for Love.
In the Mood for Love, yeah, like I saw Tony Leung in a clip on YouTube talk about his working relationship with Wong Kar-wai, and it was like he never got a script up until the act for a lot of the movies going into it, and then it's like it was during the movie that there was such of a fluid process in making it, coming up with the story. It was like halfway through the film, it suddenly they changed the characters, and Tony Leung's this completely different character. It's like that's like off the seat of your pants directing, basically.
Yeah.
That's just anxiety ridden, man. I can't imagine that.
I've done something like that. It's great.
Oh.
Really? What happened?
Yeah.
Well, I came up with beats. I didn't write a script, but I did a lot of homework of who I thought the character was. And I wrote 6 different synopses for this character. And then there was the rehearsals, but we also filmed it. And then it was just okay, we're in a park. And I bring some props as starting points, and then just okay, do this, do that. I don't know. It's live writing,
Yeah.
So I think I've exercised that muscle a lot over the past couple of months. So this was recent, this exercise. So
oh, damn.
Yeah, it was very liberating. I want to do it more, but also structure and story is still very important to me.
Right.
Yeah. The plot. I'm not very plot there's A, B, and C and they're gonna intertwine and then there's the climax of not the climax, the inciting incident. I'm not very, I could get better at that.
Almost just to wrap it up there. But I did want to ask about, again, there were so many moving pieces in yellow envelopes that we were filming. A pretty big cast, a lot of crew and everything like that, multiple locations that you guys had shot at. Was there any good takeaways that you learned from about yourself and also about the craft that you didn't realize before?
Can you give me an example? Because it's really hard for me to...
I don't know. I just remembered you just said no more overnight shoots.
Okay.
Did you realize how much longer that? Yeah.
No more night shoots.
No,
it's weird. And me and Tiffany, the lead, were discussing this. It's unholy. It's so unsacred. Human beings are supposed to be asleep at night. COVID. I don't want to do a set that big ever again with the COVID. With just COVID or any pandemic, because the anxiety of films are expensive, lining up everyone. And then if someone gets COVID, it's all shot. That's a terrible feeling to carry around. Learning on the subway is not so bad. Shooting on the subway is actually not so bad. I would love to shoot in a moving subway one day. Mm-hmm. And this is one thing that I can carry on now is in terms of who I feel the most comfortable with on set, I really do gravitate towards the actors. I like being with the performers because for me that's what making films are. It's just you're just pretending and you're imagining, and I feel like the actors are the closest to that. Everyone else, they're more focused on a craft thing.
Yeah.
But the actors are more getting spacey and weird, and I like that.
So you're very much an actor's director as opposed to a DP's director or
yeah, I don't think I'm a DP's.
Oh my God. Honestly, we could go on for hours talking and everything like that, but just personally, it was so much fun working with you. And I just hope that whoever listens to this at least gets a semblance of a feeling that how much fun it really was to work on this, just because, it was overnight shoots and everything like that, but it was all well worth it. And just really grateful to be a part of this. So it was really fun. Thank you.
Thankful to have you.
Awesome. Josh, did we want to go into some word association here?
Yes, let's learn a little bit more about Steffi through word association, subconscious.
Oh no!
Maybe this will be just conversational version with your podiatrist. You know, it's the 10 words of your mind and not your feet. So I'll start off with my 10 words, and then all you have to do is clear your mind and say the first word, idea, image that comes to your mind after each word. And then Lucas will go with his 10 words. Are you ready?
Wait, so you're going first, right?
I'm going first, yeah.
Okay.
So get in, clear your head. No thinking of overnight shoots, no thinking of directing at all. Clear your mind. And your first word is childhood.
Apples.
Apples. Okay. Well, this actually leads into my next word. So again, first word that pops into your head, first idea. Your word is banana.
Chocolate.
Good combination. Next word, sun.
Mewtwo.
Mewtwo? The
Pokemon.
Oh.
That's an interesting connection.
I kind of see that.
Is it because Mewtwo is like the clone son of Mew, or is?
I think so. I don't know. This is just a word association game, right?
Nice. We're learning some stuff. Okay, cool. Next word. Solitude.
Tree.
Next word. Goal.
Sky.
River.
Cold.
Circle.
End.
Kumquat.
Fruit.
Winning.
Losing.
And last word, finished.
Begin.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
circle and finish. Begin.
Just the opposites. That's my brain.
All right, great. Lucas, your 10 words.
All right. You feel good, Steffi?
Yeah.
Awesome. Your first word of 10. Toronto.
Happy.
Oh, nice. TikTok.
Oh no.
Margo.
Shorts.
Nice. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. It's also a short film, but yeah. Good point. Trope.
Avoid.
Avoid. Good call. Culture.
Jazz.
Nice. Sorry.
Like, ooh, you like jazz? It's like Seinfeld.
I just think in a cartoonish way right now,
Right.
You think of culture and you think of people who listen to jazz in their living rooms at night.
You're right.
Oh my god. Yeah. Next word. Fashion.
Love.
There we are. Oh, this one. Overnight.
Stress.
York.
Beginnings.
Nice. Yellow.
Is it cliche if I say envelopes?
It's not cliche at all.
It's been a word worm in my, yeah.
Nice. And your last word is Steffi.
That's weird. That's the first I had. Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Give it up for Steffi.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where can people find you? Where can people find you and also like potentially see your work?
You're the one who told me that people don't send each other's emails anymore and that they just give each other's handles. So you could find me on Instagram at Steffi Tupe. Yeah. And then if you need any advice or anything further, I'm pretty busy, but you could DM me and I'll send you my email address and you could carry on through there.
Awesome. Amazing. Yeah. Did you also want to put out your Vimeo by any chance? Because there are some like stuff.
Yeah, sure. How do I do that? Because that's just like a long URL, like just vimeo.com/Steffi Tupe.
Or you can read it
Yeah,
out on the
I think-
pod, and then people will just go one letter at a time and type it in. But I mean,
Mio.
yeah. No, in that case, we'll have a link. We'll have a link in the description, and people can find you there. When is Yellow Envelope expected? What's the timeline there?
So it should be picture lock and color correcting by like March next year.
Nice.
And then I'll send it to festivals, but maybe you'll do cast and crew screening beforehand. And yeah.
Cool.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
2022.
2022.
Yeah.
It's like 2021 never happened. You go 2020 and then 2022.
Oh my God. I still think it's 2020.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Josh, where can people find you?
At Josh Yang Comedy across all social media platforms. And of course, you can always sleep with Josh on the Sleep with Josh podcast, where I read actually dry and boring things with my voice. So, laws, the dictionary. For one episode, I count sheep for an hour. So, just a lot of boring stuff. But Sleep with Josh podcast is there. And Lucas, I'm going to wait for you to, there you go. Lucas, what are your handles?
Everyone can find me across social media at Lucas John Ing. Again, that last name is just 2 letters, no vowels. N for Nancy, G for golf. And if you like what you see and hear, follow us on YouTube and also on wherever you listen to your podcast, be it Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, at HWMIY podcast. Awesome. Also leave a review too, wherever you can find reviews. So we'd love to hear your feedback, but also it'd be great to know that we have some listeners too at the same time. So
Yeah,
thank you, everybody.
listener interaction is always good. Always
Yeah.
encouraged.
Give it up for Steffi one more time. This was so good. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Give it up for you too.
Yeah.
65.
Yay.
Yeah.
65.
No, 66. Isn't it 66?
65 plus a special bonus episode.
Okay, there you
So
go.
we're at a secret 66. Yeah.
Secret 66.
All right.
All right. We'll see you all in 2 weeks' time. See you later.
Bye.